So the question, hey, how you doing? The first question we have is, what's for dinner?
I just sent a text to my friends who asked me, where do you want to go for dinner? And I said, I don't know, ask Ed and we'll figure it out. I don't know what's for dinner.
Well, we noticed you were in the kitchen, so we didn't know.
Yes, I am in the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you could join us. And we held off on our opening prayer until you could join us for that. So we'll begin with a prayer, and then I know folks have questions to ask you. Okay, let's pray. Our gracious God, we are so grateful for all your gifts. We're grateful for the gift of being together and for the tour that's coming up, for our pilgrimage to this very special place and all those places where we will walk and we will remember and celebrate what you have done for us in Christ. And we thank you for that, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, folks. Anyone have a question? Yes?
Are we allowed to take a small backpack along?
Absolutely, yes, I encourage it. It's great to have on the bus each day when you're leaving, going to be out for the day. You can put whatever you think you may need, and then you can leave anything you want on the bus because it's safe. Our driver, we've worked with him for almost 20 years, and he's a great guy and totally trustworthy. So it's a good idea.
One more question.
Okay?
Do we need any special immunizations or anything like that?
No, you don't. They always recommend that you have your tetanus up to date anytime you travel, and your living in Texas, they encourage us to have the Hep A series, even if you're not traveling, because we get so much of our produce from south of the border, but there's nothing required.
Okay, good.
I have a question about a garment. Someone was interested in knowing whether you can wear eyelet with a tank top under it. Is that too see-through?
No, that's fine. That'll work well.
A sheer fabric is okay as long as there's some other garment under it.
Right. Yes. And you need to have they say your knees and shoulders covered to go into any of the holy sites. So now, I have skirts that come just above my knee that I wear, or walking shorts are okay as long as they're almost to the knee. But you can't have anything really short, men or women. And everybody has to have their shoulders covered as well. No plunging necklines, no sleeveless shirts to go into all the holy sites. Now, you're going to be there at a really hot time, and so you're going to want lightweight fabrics, cotton kind of breathable fabrics. And if you want to wear like a sleeveless shirt, you just need to have something, a shawl of some sort to put around your shoulders when you go into a holy site, so that they won't deny you admission. The most strict site is on the Temple Mount. On the day that you'll go there, you need to be sure that you don't have anything, even V-neck. They are very strict up there. So that day, you for sure have to be careful. The only day that you don't have to worry about this is when the day you go from Tiberias to Bethsaida for that day, and then you'll go up to Jerusalem that evening. But that day there are no holy sites, so you can wear your shorts and sleeveless shirts and be comfortable. Be sure you have a hat. There are places when you're at the archaeological sites, especially, there are no there are very few places to stand in the shade. So you want to be sure you have sunscreen and a hat to wear, and just, trust me, you'll want that.
Do you recommend the sunscreen fabric that's long sleeve sometimes?
Yes,
The light color?
I think that's always good.
And water, I know staying hydrated is really important. You said
Very-
there's water on the bus for people
There
to.
is water on the bus, our driver will have it all the time, and it's a little refrigerated compartment at the front of the bus in the dashboard as you get on and off, that he'll have that filled with bottles of water. And, it's 2 bottles for $3. And you just throw the money in the little refrigerator and he'll collect it eventually. But, and it's just an honor system. If you, want to throw in $3, then just take 1 bottle of water. You can get the other one later. Or, if it's a couple, then, you may just, each of you take a bottle. But be sure to drink a lot of water because the climate is very dry there and it's gonna be hot. It's like Houston temperatures, but they don't have the humidity that we have. So it's a dry climate. But when you're at the Sea of Galilee, you're over 600 feet below sea level. And when you're at the day you go to the Dead Sea, you'll be 1,300 feet below sea level. And the temperatures are very extreme. Once you get to Jerusalem, it's about a 2,400 feet elevation, so it's going to be cooler. It won't be, really cool, but it'll feel a lot cooler than it does in Tiberias or the Dead Sea area.
I have a couple technical questions for you.
Okay,
Are we going to go to Route 98 at all?
to Route 98,
Are we going anywhere near there?
I don't know, where is that? Where is
Okay,
that?
it's around the Golan Heights.
Oh, yes, you'll be up in the Golan Heights. I don't know the street numbers,
No.
nobody.
Okay, the reason I'm asking you that, because I have a notification from U.S. Embassy in Israel
Uh-huh,
that we need to stay away from there.
from the Golan Heights?
Yes. Because,
Well,
see,
they're not going to take you anywhere where it's not safe. So if
Okay.
there's some sort of an advisory against it, then you won't be going there. But, if you go, to the road to Damascus.
right,
And, that's in the foothills of the Golan. And, so that would be the day that you might be in that. I don't know the street numbers.
Right.
You can ask Toby and Nishi. Nishi is the guide and Toby's the driver. And they can let you know. But these 2 men are totally trustworthy. I have worked with them for.
but I wouldn't doubt that. I'm just saying that, it's a matter of fact, because I work for U.S. government, okay, I'm a federal agent.
Oh,
And
okay.
I am prohibited to go to near 98
Okay.
because of the situation right now. They have basically a confrontation between Iraqi government and Iraqi rebellious, whatever you call it. So I cannot get caught in that. And that's number one. Number two, I was also advised that all American citizens, if you pass toward that area, you have to register to Israel, to U.S. Department of State. So I did that because I was notified. So I don't know if we need to do that as a group or not.
Well, we've never had that issue, and, so, honestly, I'll have to check on that.
Yeah, I
really-
do, because, I don't want us to get caught, have a trouble in the bus or something like that, so,
Uh-huh,
and at least we can get, help real fast there.
right.
If you could check,
Okay,
that would
I'll
be great.
Check on that,
Okay,
and, I'll have have to get back with you because I'm not
Okay.
aware of, that issue. I know our last group that was there did go, to the road to Damascus.
Mhm.
And so,
I hope it's okay, because I like to see it.
Yeah, Bev, isn't
Yeah.
it true that the State Department has warnings all the time in a lot of places that are just standard and they stay up on the
Yes.
website?
yeah.
I mean, I've traveled in many parts of the world where you don't even think about it, but there'll be some kind of warning that just stays there. You know, I've been to
Yeah.
Kenya several times, and
I
South America and Israel is no exception. I think it's important to reiterate what you and Mishi said when we had our meeting here about checking every day and being in constant contact
Absolutely.
with his contacts about anything going on.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And you've never had an incident.
Never.
Yeah.
I've been well over 100 times,
Yeah.
and we've never had a problem at all. And I've never been to Israel when there was not a travel advisory in effect. It's just.
That's good to know.
Yeah, yeah.
The second one is easier for you. I said on the July the 1st, before we return to the state, we
Yeah.
spent the night in Jerusalem, and we leaving from the hotel in Jerusalem to the airport, correct? In Tel Aviv?
Yes, you'll leave from the hotel. Let me just look at your schedule. You actually leave the morning of July 2nd.
Right, from Jerusalem,
From
correct?
Tel Aviv to drive from Jerusalem to drive to
Okay,
Tel Aviv.
that's what I thought. I just want to confirm that.
Yes.
Because it's not really that far, right? Like 45
Oh,
minutes?
it's less than 45
Oh.
minutes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about credit cards? I know that in some countries they've gone to the chipped cards. Is that an issue for us in Israel now?
No, it has never been an issue. Now, I haven't been there since February, so, but I haven't heard from any one of our passengers that has been since I've been there that it was an issue. It's just, I do know in Europe there
Yeah.
are some issues with that, but nothing in Israel.
Okay, thanks. Another question, will there be an opportunity to swim in the Sea of Galilee?
Yes, your hotel is right on
good.
the shores of the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
right
and
there,
there's a
yeah.
little beach right beside the hotel. So you can go at the end of the day, you can go and take a dip and enjoy it. You'll also have an opportunity to swim in the Dead Sea. Well, not swim, to float.
Float, right. Sit on top of the water, right?
Exactly. Take a good book and just enjoy it.
There you go. And on the day that you mentioned where we will not visit a holy site, is that the day we go to the baptismal site?
I know you'll probably, what we typically do is end the day, the last day in Tiberias, with a visit to
Okay.
the Jordan River. And the reason for that is if there is anyone in the group who wants to be baptized, and they get immersed, they want to go back to the hotel to
Right.
clean up. Typically, in Methodist groups, we don't have rebaptism, we do
Right.
reaffirmation, but that's totally your call, Tim.
Yeah, yes, and I've already explained to the group that we don't rebaptize.
Okay.
What we did one time, I remember with the group, is people just put their hands in the water and we had a little service of remembering baptism.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, because you won't be doing any immersions, that you could go in the morning on the way to the Masada and the Dead Sea. It just depends on the schedule and how the days work.
Okay.
So, and you can work that out with Nishi, however you'd like to do it. Sometimes the mornings are really pleasant there because it's quiet and it's not so chaotic as it can be in the evenings. But again, sometimes the chaos of all the different cultures doing baptism and just seeing the different expressions of baptism is also a great experience. So there are trade-offs.
I'd like to know about the overhead storage in the cabin of the plane. Is there room for carry-on luggage there? Or do they
Yes.
have restrictions like they do on some airlines, European?
Well, they have, the size restrictions that are typical, but there is room for carry-on luggage in those overhead compartments. They know on an international flight that there are going to be a lot of people with carry-on bags. So they're very large compartments. Now, not as much on the domestic flight from Dallas Fort Worth to Newark, but from Newark to Tel Aviv, they're big compartments. So.
And is there bottled water in the hotel that we need to always use or not?
There, you can buy bottled water. You don't. The water is safe in Israel. I've never had a problem at all. And I drink the tap water all the time. But if you know you have a sensitive system and your tummy gets easily upset, then I would stick with bottled water at least the first couple of days, just to be sure that you're adjusting. But the hotels will have bottled water. They'll have water on the tables also most of the time that's filtered water. So you should be fine.
Bev, would you describe to us when we land in Tel Aviv what the procedures are to enter the country?
Yes, you will get off the plane and go, first of all, through passport control. And if you have, I don't think they're really stamping passports much anymore, but just to be safe, if you know you're going to be traveling to a Muslim country that does not have diplomatic relations with Israel, and Egypt and Jordan are the only two that do have diplomatic relationships, just be sure and ask them, do not stamp my passport. A lot of times from Texas, we have a lot of people involved with the oil field that are traveling to those countries. So just ask them not to stamp it. Passport control, and then you'll go to the baggage claim area. And all of this is, you just follow the crowds that it's very easy to find. And once you go past passport control and into the baggage claim area, we will have a representative there with a sign that says Bruster Tour, and you'll just go to that person and they will direct you to the carousel where your luggage will be. Once you get your luggage, you'll go back to that person and they will take you then through the customs area and out into the terminal where Nishi will be waiting. And then he'll take you to the bus and you'll go straight to the hotel, and you'll check into the hotel. When you arrive there, Nishi will get all the keys and give them to you. At each hotel, when you arrive, you'll have a welcome drink. They'll have fresh orange juice or grapefruit juice or lemonade or something. And then they'll give you a pack with your key and stickers in the little package. You take the stickers out and you'll go put those on your piece of checked luggage that the bellman will have taken off the bus, and they'll be lined up in front of the hotel. So you go put your sticker on there, and then you go to your room and the bellman will bring your bags to your room. Now the first night when you get there, it depends on how crowded they are, whether they'll be able to get your luggage to the room before you go to dinner. But you'll be able to at least wash your face or freshen up a little bit and then go to dinner. And the hotel is right on the Mediterranean, so I would advise that you might, after dinner, want to go for a walk on the shores of the Mediterranean and just try and not go to sleep too early. Until at least 9 o'clock. Then you'll have a better night's sleep and wake up refreshed in the morning. Get on the new time schedule a lot easier.
Are there any-
And then the next morning, you'll probably leave the hotel. Typically, you'll have maybe a 6:30 wake-up call, and you'll have to set your luggage out in the hallway by 7:30, and then go to breakfast, and by 8:30, you'll be, 8:15 will ask, but Misha will give you all the exact time. But typically, this is what we do. At 8:15, somebody, each one of you would need to be at the bus to identify your luggage and watch the bellman put it on the bus so that we know when we get to Tiberias, everybody's gonna have their luggage there. So, and then once you see your luggage put on the bus, then you get on the bus, and then as soon as the bus is loaded, you'll head to the first site of the day, which will be Caesarea by the Sea. And then that evening, you'll arrive in Tiberias and do the same procedure there. You'll get your welcome drink, you'll get your stickers and your key, put your stickers on your luggage. But then you've got 3 nights in Tiberias. You don't have to set your luggage out in the hallway until 3 days later. So then you'll do the same thing once you get to Jerusalem for 5 nights.
Are there any situations where we need to tip some person who's assisting us?
Your tips are all paid unless it's for, like, one day there'll be a lunch at the Sea of Galilee, which is a seated lunch. You'll go in, it's the St. Peter fish lunch, and they will serve you. On that day, I would leave $1 on the table for lunch. But other than that, or if you call for room service or have a special favor, then you would pay a tip. But other than that, all your tips for the bellman and the maids and the waiters and the guide and the driver are all included in what you've already paid.
Will we be getting any kind of luggage tags to identify us with the tour or not?
Yes, I thought those packets had already been mailed.
You
Yeah,
haven't
I got
gotten
it.
yours yet?
That's-
Yeah, we got ours about 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah, I've got mine too.
So there'll be name tags for each person
Yeah.
and 2 luggage tags. 1 piece of luggage can be checked. And on the way back, if you want to take a folding bag for any purchases you might make, you can check 2 bags coming back. I think you'll have to pay for one of them. I think they have started charging recently for the second bag for international flights. So, and I don't remember what that charge is. If you're a United frequent flyer, you won't have to pay for a second bag, I don't think. But if you're a silver or gold or platinum frequent flyer with United. But other than that, I think you do have to pay for a second bag. But we just ask that everyone start with 1 bag because we couldn't get all the luggage on the bus. That started with too much. And honestly, the less you pack, the better off you're gonna be, the happier you'll be. Even though the bellman handles the bags, you still have to get to the airport and home from the airport and take it from the bus to the airport both ways. So it's not a fashion show. You just want comfortable things that'll mix and match with each other, and just what I usually do is at the end of the day of touring, I go back to the hotel and take a shower and dress for dinner, and that's the clothes I wear the next day for touring. So I feel fresh and clean for dinner, and then I don't have to pack double clothes though. I just wear those same clothes the next day.
Is there any chance of any rain at all while we're over there?
If it rains, there will be such celebration in the street that you'll be thrilled. Their rainy season is between November and March, and I don't know in the history of the country if it's ever rained in June, but so you should not have any issue with rain at all.
Yeah, one of the slides I'm going to share with the group tonight has to do with the climate data. And the average rainfall in June is 0. It really says that, yeah?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Bring the umbrella for shade.
I have a quick question. I have a quick question for you. Is there a gift shop that can ship back to here so that I don't have to carry with me?
All of the shops that we will take you to are shops that we know the shopkeepers, we know that they're trustworthy and reliable, and you can they'll ship whatever back to you that you would want to buy. And it's nice to do that because
Thank you.
a lot of the things are kind of bulky and would be hard to carry around, so.
Where do you suggest that we exchange money? In the airport or the ATM?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that question.
Exchange currency?
You don't have to change currency at all. They love American dollars in Israel. And you can pay for anything with dollars. You may get some shekels back for change depending on how much it is, but most of the time you'll even get dollars back. You'll get the paper bills, but not our American coins. So if it's not an even change, then they'll give you a few shekels in change as well as American dollars. So you don't have to be concerned with that at all. The exchange rate right now is about 3.5 shekels to $1. But really, you probably won't even encounter that because where you'll be going, all the prices will be in dollars even. So you shouldn't have any issue with that.
Okay.
Don't plan to use your credit card for small purchases like you may do here. They don't want to accept a credit card for anything less than probably $100. So you'll need cash for your lunches every day. And if you plan on $15 a day per person, that will be more than enough. So some days it'll be $10 falafel lunch. The one day at the Sea of Galilee, it's going to be more like $20 or $22. But generally, it'll be more in the $12 range, I would say, average. Just depends on the exchange rate at the time.
Are they picky with the dollar? I mean, some country you have to be like Chris or younger than 2006 or something like that.
No, they don't like bills that are torn or just, really damaged, but they don't have any restrictions like
That's
that.
good.
Hey Bev, do the hotels that we're staying in have workout rooms where we can exercise?
Yes, I believe they all do.
Okay.
And they all have Wi-Fi available. Some is free in the lobby, others you have to pay for. So if you want, now we do have Wi-Fi on the bus every day.
Oh, great.
So if you have a smartphone and you want to check your email or whatever, you'll be able to do that on the bus.
Great.
Great.
What
And,
Wish you hadn't told Tim that.
I second that.
sorry.
Ashley, did you?
Yeah, won't that be international charges? Do we need to get an international plan put on for the 2
Not
days?
if you
No,
have
not in the
Wi-Fi.
hotspot, yeah, not Wi-Fi.
Download it through
Okay,
Wi-Fi.
yeah, okay, gotcha.
But call your provider. I have AT&T, and so that's my experience with AT&T. But call your service provider to just be sure, because I don't want to be responsible for giving you the correct information.
I have a question that somebody emailed me, and I only got one by email, a couple that couldn't be here this evening.
Okay?
And he said it relates to the political religious situation of present-day Israel. His question is, what do we need to be aware of, sensitive to, etc., regarding Palestinian issues going in and out of the West Bank, differences in Arab versus Jewish customs, etc., and in general, do you have any tips to help us from being, quote, the ugly Americans? He says, I know most of our trip will focus on biblical historical places appropriately, but a little info on the current situation and modern Israel should be helpful.
Nishi will address all of that. He is very open to any question you want to ask him. And he will be very honest and open about the political situation and the sensitivities there. Really, there's not anything other than being, they're a modest culture. So, and crossing your legs in that culture is offensive. To see the bottom of a foot is offensive. That's really hard for me. I just sit down and automatically want to cross my leg. But that's one thing to think about. But in terms of just everyday life and the political situation, Nishi will address all of that and gives a very balanced view. He is Jewish, but he works with Palestinians. Really, most of the people, it seems like, that we work with are Palestinian, and Christians and Muslims. And he'll be very even-handed and open and honest with you about any question that you want to ask. In terms of crossing in and out of the West Bank, you will do it a few times and you will hardly know it. It'll be during the time primarily that you are driving from Tiberias to Masada and then up to Jerusalem. There will be barricades set up, and that the bus just has to slow down and go around, and there'll be soldiers there that will they profile. They'll just see that it's a bus of tourists, and they will, just pass you on through. Another time might be, depending on how you go into Bethlehem, but on that day, you may go through the crossing at the wall there, or you may go kind of in the back door and only see the wall but not go through it. So, but Nishi will prepare you for all of those things. So don't hesitate to ask him any question that comes to your mind. He'll be happy to answer those.
Are there any colors we should avoid wearing over there?
No, I don't know of anything.
What time will our days end roughly, and how long, will we have time before dinner, after dinner, or time-wise?
Typically, the day begins about 8 or 8:30, and you'll be back at the hotel the sites will close by 5. So you'll be back at the hotel by 5:30 to 6 at the latest, and have dinner typically about 7 or 7:30. And so, one thing we enjoy doing is at the end of the day, going back and getting freshened up and going to the bar or the deck outside the hotel on the Sea of Galilee and just having a glass of wine and talking about the day. And Nishi will do that with you if you want to do that, and just sort of process what you've experienced during the day and how that has affected you, or questions that may have come to mind that you thought about. And it's a nice way to end the day.
Good.
Any other questions?
I got one about earbuds. On the initial meeting, it said we need to have earbuds for the listening devices. And on one of the lists that we got on the email, it said that they could actually provide those for us. Is that?
Actually, the good news is that we have just today gotten new listening devices. And they're much smaller, and they have good earbuds, not buds, but little things that go over your ear, just one ear. So, with a little lanyard that goes around your neck. So you don't have to, that information is obsolete now. You don't have to take your own. And they're really good quality. So you'll be the second group to use them. Our church is going to be there. Our church is leaving the day you arrive. So we'll be the first ones to use it, and then you'll get them.
Great.
Do those hang around your neck then? You don't need a
Yes,
pocket or
they
something?
do.
Okay.
Any other questions? If you think of anything during the meeting that you're having now, or after you get home that you wish you had asked, just send me an email, and I will be glad to answer any questions that come up.
A quick one. Is the dinner in the hotel or we go somewhere?
I think you may go, let me just look at your itinerary quickly. You may go out. Yes, you're gonna go out, one night in Tiberias and, 2 nights in Jerusalem.
Great. Thank you.
That'll be a fun experience.
Yeah, thank you.
Real quick, is it safe for us to walk in the evening by ourselves, like with our friends or something out on the streets?
Absolutely.
So we
I
can,
do it all the time, and it's very safe. All of your hotels are in really good areas, and at the first night, as I said, on the shores of the Mediterranean, you can walk, and it's really pleasant. In Tiberias, you're just on the edge of the tourist part of the town, and it's a 2-minute walk, and you're in that area, which is really nice if you want to go get some ice cream or something, or just stroll around and see what it's like. And in Jerusalem, your hotel is very well located. It's just kind of backs up to the King David Hotel, which is the old historic British hotel there that is beautiful. You should walk over there and look at it. It's very nice. And across from that is the YMCA, which was built in the late 20s and is the most beautiful YMCA you've ever seen anywhere in the world. And then a block from there is a shopping mall, a pedestrian outdoor shopping area that's really a lot of fun. So you're in a great location and lots to do in the area.
Okay, last question. In any of the tourist area that we're going to visit, have you ever experienced there's some pickpocket in there?
Yes, and Nishi will tell you exactly where those guys are. On the Mount of Olives, the first morning in Jerusalem, you'll go for a panoramic view of the old city. And there are a couple guys up there that we know well. And they know that we know that they are trying to pick the pockets of our tourists. And Nishi will tell you before you get off the bus, leave everything on the bus except 2 or 3 $1 bills if you want to buy 20 postcards for $1 or 20 bookmarks for $1 or whatever. They have, most of the peddlers are wonderful guys, but there are a couple crooks. And so if you just leave your things on the bus, because from there you're going to walk down the side of the Mount of Olives along the Palm Sunday Road and finish that walk at the Garden of Gethsemane. So you just, all you'll want is your camera and your, a couple dollars. And that's all you'll need.
Great, thank you.
And he'll tell you exactly, when you're in the old city of Jerusalem also, sometimes it can be very crowded and there can be,
Right.
A scoundrel among all the
Absolutely.
crowds. So you just need to stay together as a group and watch out for each other. If somebody comes and starts trying to jostle and bump around, just watch them carefully and, just be careful. Don't put your wallets in your back pocket. Either give it to your wife to carry in her purse or put it in the front pocket. And just don't take any chances like that. But I have a purse that has a strap, a long strap that goes across my body, and that's what I carry. And I've never had a problem, but I'm also aware and just keep my eyes open and look for suspicious looking characters. But they're really very few in number, but if they get you, it's really sad. We had a guy one time that was going down Palm Sunday Road with he had a fanny pack, which Nishi had said, don't take your fanny pack, don't do anything, don't take anything but these $2 or $3. And some guys came and jostled him, and the next thing he knew, his wallet was missing from his fanny pack. And Nishi had to track down, I called him because I was at the back of the group, and he came running back and ran after this guy and threatened him. He eventually suddenly discovered this wallet in the tombs there on the Mount of Olives cemetery. So it happens, but if you're just smart about it and do what Nishi says, you should be good.
Gotcha, thanks.
Okay, anything else? One experience we had on the Mount of Olives, I remember, and we had it a few times, I think, throughout where somebody offers to take a picture or something like that, and then they expect you to pay them for it. Is that still an issue?
They don't tell you ahead of time.
There's a guy that has a donkey.
Yeah.
Yes, we met him.
Yeah, he's a little pushy.
If you want to take your picture with him or his donkey, then you'll need to give him $1.
Yeah, okay.
And you'll be able to get on do a camel ride on the Mount of Olives, which is, they say it's free to get up, but it's $2 or $3 to come down.
That's good.
All right.
Pretty good. Oh, I do that too. I
Things
will
that
do that
Nishi
too.
will say, if you want your, take a few single dollar bills, but
Yeah.
just not your whole wallet.
Great. Thank you so much. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
Bev.
Thank you,
Well,
Bev.
Appreciate it.
I'm so glad this worked out.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's-
we can do Skype, I'm really.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
It's really a great way to be able to communicate.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, say hi to Ed.
I will do it.
Okay.
And, just email me or call if you have any questions.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks, Kim.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I went to AT&T to check on what to do and everything. She said that Skyping on your internet, on the Wi-Fi on the bus would be the easiest thing to do to communicate.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
It's the easiest,
Um,
cheapest.
Take mine.
A story,
I'm gonna
we
buy
took
some of this
a
too.
group of kids to,
She said, if you have free
I'm
Wi-Fi,
sorry.
you can Skype, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, yeah.
And FaceTime too. If you
Yeah,
iPhone,
FaceTime,
it's free.
yeah,
Yeah, you have to
And
use
texting
your
between
iPhone
iPhones is
connection, you're
free.
gonna be paying.
yeah.
And you can buy minutes before you go over. But if you use the Wi-Fi connection, then you're gonna pay.
Yeah, we had a girl on a Sister Cities trip to
Budapest.
Budapest that that Susan led, I went along. And she was using her iPhone the whole time and sending videos
Oh
and
my
pictures.
goodness.
We kept asking her.
Her dad had a heart attack when he got, what was it, $1,900 phone bill?
Did he send it to me or a message to me to give to her, or did he send it to her? I was trying to remember.
Somehow he got a message to her to stop.
Phone. Stop sending the videos.
In Budapest, I bought disposable phones, which are really easy to do too.
Yeah.
And you can do that just about at any
Yeah,
airport.
Israel has
Buy a
that.
throwaway phone and that.
That's a good
And
idea.
use it in.
You ran it, yeah.
Yeah,
In country.
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was cool to be able to talk to Bev
Yeah,
like
it
that. I'm
was.
glad we could arrange for that. We'll have to, I'll cover a little bit tonight. We'll have to pick up next week because we spent quite a bit of time on that conversation, but it was very helpful, I trust, and hopefully you got your questions answered.
Well, tell them real quick the story in Jerusalem about Sarah, the camels.
Oh, yeah. Actually, it was Bethlehem. And, this guy offered me, I don't know, 50 camels or something for my eldest daughter. It was pretty funny. He was,
He just kept following us along, she's blonde hair.
it's pretty funny. Yeah, I told the guy, I said, I can't get 50 camels back to the United States, whatever. It was pretty funny.
3 daughters with us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I told him that was way too low anyway. Okay, so let's just move through some of what I have. We'll spend about 25 minutes and then we'll call it a night. Okay. So Jerusalem is our next stop, and it is truly a fascinating place because it's considered to be the holy city for all the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The Israelis and Palestinians both claim Jerusalem as their capital. And of course, you know that that's a huge problem. Israel maintains its primary governmental institutions there. We're going to visit the Knesset, I noticed on our agenda. And the state of Palestine ultimately foresees it to be its seat of power. But neither of those claims are recognized internationally, at least very widely. There are some who recognize one or the other. And so one of the core issues in the conflict between the Israelis and Palestinians has to do with Jerusalem. During the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, West Jerusalem was among the areas captured and then later annexed by Israel, while East Jerusalem, including the Old City, was captured and annexed by Jordan. And then Israel captured East Jerusalem from Jordan during the 1967 Six-Day War and subsequently annexed it. So the international community rejected that annexation as illegal, and they treat East Jerusalem is Palestinian territory that's occupied by Israel. And obviously this is a source of conflict. And so the West Bank territory is considered internationally occupied territory by Israel. Israel is a very, very old city. The oldest part of the city was settled in the 4th millennium BC. But the founding of the city, they just had their 3,000th anniversary. I can't remember what year they celebrated. It was a big celebration of 3,000 years. So it is for Americans particularly, I think it's just startling for us to experience the antiquity in that place, because we don't have anything that old. Nothing except for a few fragments, or something like that, of early people who dwelt in what is now the United States, but nothing like there. The city of David is you might say sort of the oldest part of the city that you can still see a lot of the ruins of that area. This is a model. We'll visit this model. It's fascinating. It is a model of Jerusalem as it was in the 1st century. And it's very well done. And you walk around, it's outdoors, and you walk around this thing and you can take pictures and you can focus in on what's what and what was where. And it's really just a tremendous teaching tool. But according to biblical tradition, King David established the city as the capital of the United Kingdom. And it was his son, King Solomon, of course, that commissioned the building of the first temple in Jerusalem. And those are, of course, important events. And the term Holy City, by the way, which is a term that is synonymous with Jerusalem, probably attached to Jerusalem after the exile. And so that also is a very old term for the city. During its long history, Jerusalem has been destroyed at least twice. And listen to this, it's been besieged 23 times, attacked 52 times, and captured and recaptured 44 times in its history. So conflict is nothing new related to Jerusalem. In 1538, the walls were built around Jerusalem, so the ancient walls that you see that are still standing, like this picture shows, date back to 1538, and they're beautiful. And today, those walls define the old city, and it's divided into 4 quarters. And you will hear people speak of the Armenian, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim quarters. And the Old City, of course, is a World Heritage Site, and it is packed with history from all of these traditions. Here's another map that just shows the quarters. And over on the right is the Temple Mount, and you can see the mosques there outlined. This is a map that's very interesting. It's in Jordan, but it is a map of Jerusalem, and it's part of a map of really the Holy Land. In a church in Jordan, it dates back to the 6th century, which is quite remarkable, and it's done in mosaic tiles. And the Greek characters you see up on the upper left-hand corner there say, Holy City, Jerusalem. And then, so for Christians, the Holy City was very important dating back to this time when this church was built, so that they did a whole map of the Holy Land and the Holy City in that church. The Temple Mount is what you see here, and it is this large area where Herod's temple used to sit before it was destroyed in 70 AD by the Romans. But when you think about the Old City, think about this. The Old City is only 0.35 square miles. And yet, in that amount of space, there is the Temple Mount, a sacred site for, particularly for Jews and Muslims. There is the Western Wall, which is beside the Temple Mount there. Used to be called the Wailing Wall before it was recaptured, before the territory beyond it was recaptured in the '67 war. And it is a place, a very sacred site in Israel. It's a place of prayer. If you see those divisions there in front of the wall, and you see little desks, you will, when we're there, you'll see people having bar mitzvahs. You will see all kinds of things going on there. It's a fascinating place. It is a place of prayer. This is a man praying at the Western Wall. And do you see all those little slips of paper? It is traditional to write a prayer and to stick it into the wall there. There's a section for women and a section for men. Yeah. And this is the Dome of the Rock Mosque. Again, all within this area, another holy site for Islam. And it is maintained, in fact, by the Ministry of Awqaf, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in Amman, Jordan. And until the mid-20th century, non-Muslims were not permitted in that area. After 1967, non-Muslims have been permitted limited access. We will go there. We will go up on the Temple Mount, and we will be able to see these magnificent buildings. But non-Muslims are not allowed to pray on the Temple Mount or to carry any form of religious artifact or anything at all with Hebrew letters on it. And the Israeli police help enforce that law. This is the foundation stone in the floor of the Dome of the Rock. And you can see a little description. The round hole at the upper left penetrates into a small cave. It's known as the Well of Souls below that. And that cage-like structure just beyond the hole covers the stairway entrance to the cave. Again, this is under the Dome of the Rock. And that is the rock, by the way, the sacred stone that's there. Also in that small area is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is a church built on the site of the tomb. This is a very likely site for the tomb. It dates back, it's a very ancient site, and there's a lot of evidence that it was located here. The problem was the tomb itself was destroyed in one of the wars. But where the tomb was is a structure that looks like this inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And that, this church is bizarre. I don't know any other way to put it. It is the most bizarre thing you've ever seen. And there are different Christian groups that own parts of it, and they fight about that. In fact, there was so much conflict among these Christian groups that the person who has the keys to the church is Muslim. That's the compromise. You know, okay, none of us get the keys. We're going to hand it to somebody who is outside the whole thing. It is everybody. That's the weird thing about this church. You have all these little chapels and churches within it, chapels within it, And there's a Coptic church, there's Eastern Orthodox, there's Roman Catholic. I guess there are Protestants in there too. I don't know who all. And it's labyrinthine. It's very interesting. It is not a place that is really conducive to meditating on the death and resurrection of Jesus. There is a place that is almost certainly not the site of the tomb that is very beautiful, called the Garden Tomb. And I don't remember was that on our agenda? I'll have to look. We haven't gotten there yet. But I hope we get to go there because it is a beautiful spot, and generally most groups do go there. And it's a place we can meditate and pray and have communion, but not here. This is a fascinating place with a long history. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is the other mosque that sits up on the Temple Mount, and because of security, Israel restricts access of Palestinian residents of the West Bank to Jerusalem, and they can only come on Muslim holidays. They have an age restriction on the West Bank. Palestinian men over 35 are eligible for a permit to enter. Now, Palestinian residents of Jerusalem who have Israeli residency cards and Palestinians with Israeli citizenship are permitted unrestricted access. In 2006, the Temple Mount was reopened to non-Muslim visitors during certain hours, and we'll have a chance to do that. Non-Muslims are prohibited from entering after 2:30 p.m., can't enter on Fridays, Saturdays, Muslim holidays. There are a lot of rules around that, but it is a place that you'll find fascinating. A lot of strict security, as you can imagine. And as Bev mentioned, this is a place where they're very, very particular about what you wear. Our daughters had to be wrapped in these sort of blanket-like, and they were, in order to be allowed in.
And they were wearing the right thing?
They thought.
They were too curvy.
Curvy. They were too curvy.
They were teenagers, and they're all, beautiful. Too curvy. They were teenage girls, and they had on capri pants, I think.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And they had, but they were tight, like girls wear jeans. They're not super tight.
Yeah, so they are really strict there.
Very strict.
This is really an interesting sign. Did you know that many Orthodox rabbis regard entering the compound to be a violation of Jewish law? These are the Orthodox rabbis. And so this is a warning from the chief rabbinate of Israel that it's forbidden and you are breaking holy law if you do that. It's based on the belief that since the temple was destroyed, now follow this, if the temple was destroyed in 70 AD, and we don't know the precise location of the Holy of Holies, where no one can enter except for the high priest, since we don't know exactly where that was, then you don't go anywhere on the Temple Mount. Other rabbis, of course, believe that you can enter it safely, and in fact, that's the majority view. But for the very Orthodox, they're not allowed to go up there. This is a demographic map of Jerusalem. I think it's interesting. It shows the distribution of the population. You can see in yellow is the Arab population, in blue the Jewish population, and then do you see the red dotted line? That is the municipal border in 1949. The heavy black line is the municipal border after 1967. Well, let me see. I got a few stats. Hang on. A few stats. In 2011, Jerusalem had a population of 801,000. Jews comprised 62%. Muslims 35%, Christians about 2%, and 9,000 people, that is about 1%, were not classified by religion. Okay, this is another view. This is kind of sweeping around. This is taken from, these shots taken from the Mount of Olives. So I thought it was interesting to look at some climate data. This is June climate data. The record high is 98.2, average high 81.7. The average low 64. So it's kind of high desert climate. In the evening it cools down very well, kind of like Lubbock really. I don't think I've ever compared Lubbock to the Holy City. I think that may be a first, yeah. For Texas Tech fans, I guess that works. But it's not far off, actually. Jerusalem is, I do remember somebody saying it's on the same latitude as Atlanta. So, yeah, it'd be north of Lubbock. But now notice the rainfall. 0. Average rainy days, 0. 44% humidity. Beg your pardon? And the mean monthly sunshine hours in June, 381.0, and that's second only to July. So it is going to be sunny and pretty warm. Compare that to January, where the January average rainfall is 5.2 inches. Average rainy days in January about 13. 72% humidity, and a lot less sunshine because that's the rainy season. Okay, Mount of Olives. We'll visit the Mount of Olives. This is an aerial view of the Mount of Olives. And do you see all of that area? A lot of little dots all over it, it looks like, little boxes. That's a vast cemetery with about 150,000 graves in it. It is a very old seminary. It's been used as a Jewish cemetery for over 3,000 years. And a lot of key events in the life of Jesus took place on the Mount of Olives. And in the book of Acts, it's described as the place from which Jesus ascended. This coming Sunday is Ascension Sunday, so we can be thinking about that. Because of its association with Jesus and Mary, it is a site of Christian worship that has been there since ancient times. And it's a major pilgrimage site, and we will be some of the pilgrims. This is the cemetery. It is amazing how vast this thing is. Yeah, see the rocks, yeah. This is near, these are ancient tombs. These are tombs of prominent figures. I think the one on the left is supposed to be the tomb of Zechariah. Yeah, here's a shot that shows those rocks. The tradition in Judaism is to place a rock on a tomb because a rock is permanent, it's strong, it's lasting, and so it is a symbol of that which is eternal. And so not flowers, but rocks, because flowers fade, flowers wither, and so that's the tradition. This is a beautiful church that's on the Mount of Olives. It is the Dominus Flavit Church. That means Jesus, or the Lord. It means the Lord wept, the Lord cried. It's a Roman Catholic church. was constructed between 1953 and 1955. It's a new church. And during construction, a lot of artifacts were uncovered. I'll show you a shot of those, one of those in just a moment. It's fashioned in the shape of a teardrop to symbolize the tears of Christ. And it's in the 19th chapter of Luke that Jesus, walking toward the city of Jerusalem, becomes overwhelmed as he looks down on the city, and he weeps for the city. And I'll just read this evening some of those texts. This is Luke 19, beginning at the 37th verse. When Jesus was starting down the Mount of Olives, his large crowd of disciples were happy and praised God because of all the miracles they had seen. They shouted, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory to God." Some Pharisees in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, make your disciples stop shouting." But Jesus answered, "If they keep quiet, these stones will start shouting." When Jesus came closer and could see Jerusalem, he cried. He wept. And he said, "It is too bad that today your people don't know what will bring them peace. Now it is hidden from them." This is from inside the church, looking, of course, over to Temple Mount. There's another section in which Jesus, in the Gospel of Matthew, says, "Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often have I desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing. See, your house is left to you desolate. For I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, 'Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord.'" So in the Gospel of Matthew, he laments over Jerusalem twice. In that first lamentation, he uses the image of a mother hen gathering chicks under her wings, and that's the mosaic here in the church. And the words around there that's the Latin for how often have I desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings. This is an ossuary. One of the burial practices was to place the bodies in a tomb. After they had decayed, all the flesh was gone, then the bones would be gathered up and they would be placed in a box, an ossuary. And several of these boxes would be in a tomb. So these were uncovered in some of the excavations. These were uncovered when they were building the church. This is the Russian Orthodox Church of Mary Magdalene. It is a magnificent structure, isn't it? Look at those gold onion domes. And this is that tomb, again, I don't know, I ended up with a couple of, this is tomb of Zechariah on the left, and another prominent one on the right. I don't know what that is. There are Old Testament references to the Mount of Olives. It's mentioned for the first time in the Old Testament, 2 Samuel 15:30. Remember, David was in armed conflict and battle with his son Absalom. And you have, he's fleeing from Absalom. And so it says in that verse, "And David went up by the ascent of the Mount of Olives and wept as he went up." This is the tomb of Absalom, the traditional tomb of Absalom that's shown here, Mount of Olives. It's mentioned in Ezekiel. This is a place that is mentioned in connection with a lot of the apocalyptic literature, that is literature that has to do with the end of the age. Ezekiel, which is very much like the book of Revelation in many ways, in terms of all that apocalyptic imagery, alludes to the Mount of Olives. It is also called, interestingly, in 1 Kings, the Mount of Corruption, because there was idol worship here. It started with King Solomon, who was building altars to the gods of his Moabite and Ammonite wives. You remember Solomon had a whole bunch of wives and concubines. So it was a place considered an abomination, a place considered evil, because it, in a certain period of time, it was in Solomon's day, because it was infamous for idol worship. It was the good king Josiah who reformed, who instituted many reforms, who took away the so-called high places that were on the Mount of Olives and restored its reputation, you might say. In the book of Zechariah, there is an apocalyptic prophecy that Yahweh will stand on the Mount of Olives, and the mountain will split in two, with one half shifting north and the other shifting south. So those are the Old Testament mentions. In the New Testament, the Mount of Olives is frequently mentioned. It is mentioned often as the route from Jerusalem to Bethany, where Mary and Martha lived. The place where Jesus stood when he wept over Jerusalem, as we saw a moment ago. Jesus spent time on the mount teaching his disciples, he returned there to rest, to be by himself. And of course, on the night of his betrayal, after they leave the upper room, they go to the Mount of Olives. And at the foot of that is the Garden of Gethsemane that we'll be talking about either momentarily or next week. So the Palm Sunday Road, you heard Bev mention that. This is up on the Mount of Olives, looking across the Kidron Valley to the Temple Mount. And then this is the road that's called the Palm Sunday Road that descends down the Mount of Olives to the Garden of Gethsemane. And of course, Palm Sunday Road is so named because of Jesus' entry into Jerusalem on the Sunday before his crucifixion. This is a Palm Sunday celebration, and if you look closely, you can see the palm branches that some people are carrying. And Jesus enters Jerusalem going down this road across the Kidron Valley, and he gets on a donkey, or in the Gospel of Matthew, a donkey and a colt, because Matthew is quoting the prophecy that says, "Tell the daughter of Zion, look, your king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." And everybody's shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord." Just a little side note, when it talks about the daughter of Zion, a daughter is not a person. In this imagery, a daughter is a village that is outside the walls of a walled city. So you can imagine the mother city has a skirt, the walls in antiquity. Almost all the cities were walled cities. And the daughters are those villages that are outside the walls of the city. And so they're gathered under the skirt of the mother in times of danger. The gates are open, the people can come in, the gates are closed, and they are protected. And so when it speaks of the weeping of the daughters of Zion, or good news for the daughters of Zion, these are the people, mostly poor, subsistence living, who live outside the protected walls of the city. So you can imagine Jesus is entering into the gate, but he has moved through the daughters, the cities, the villages outside the wall. Garden of Gethsemane and the Church of All Nations, we'll visit that. This is the garden as it looks today. Olive trees are fascinating. They are ancient. They have dated these trees to around 1100 to 1200 AD. So if anybody tells you that these trees were there when Jesus wept in the garden and prayed, they weren't. But they are among the oldest olive trees known to science. And they are fascinating. I think I told you this before, that often in antiquity they would talk about how beautiful the olive tree is. But they aren't talking about what it looks like. They're talking about how functional it is. You know, it provides oil for light. It provides soap from the oil. It provides oil for cooking. It provides fruit you can eat. Olive trees have amazing immunity. That's how they can live to be as old as they are. And they actually, in a way, communicate to each other. If one tree is threatened, they release a chemical that boosts the immunity of the neighboring trees. So they're fascinating trees. They're beautiful. The oldest in the garden, oldest trees in the garden are were 1100 to 1200 AD. So they would be 800, 900 years old. Amazing. After the Lord's Supper, it says, Matthew 26, and I'm kind of running through these because of our time rather than reading them. But after the Lord's Supper, it says, when they had sung the hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. And so it's on that night that they went. Jesus said to them, you will all become deserters because of me this night, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I'm raised up, I will go ahead of you to Galilee. And Peter said to him, though all become deserters because of you, I will never desert you. Jesus said, truly I tell you, this very night before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. Peter said to him, even though I must die with you, I will not deny you. And so said all the disciples. And then Jesus prays in the garden. And I think we'll stop there. It's 8 o'clock, and we can pick up in this place. But we'll read that text next week. But this is a sculpture that's in that garden that reminds us of that time of prayer. And the church is built on that traditional site. Okay, we will pick up next week. Let me remind you that next week is the 5th. The following week is the week of annual conference, so we won't have a class. Then the following week we'll wrap up, and we'll be able to talk, and you know, Catherine can share packing tips or and tell us how we go with 1 bag each, and that's right. And any questions, comments before we go? All right, thanks a lot.